Okay, I'll have to answer this one. How do you ask a girl for an STD test before sleeping with her? I never know what bitches have. I'll tell you my personal thoughts on this and my breakdown on it. I have never actually asked a girl for an STD test before sleeping with her. What I've done instead is always used a condom. And then I will ask for a test before I do the no condom sex, personally. You definitely could do it. But in my experience, if you ask a girl if she's clean, like, they're just going to say, well, maybe I have a biased sample because I've never caught an STD, and as far as I know, I've never actually had a girl have an STD with me. So the fact that they've always said they're clean with me, maybe they actually all were clean. But the fact of the matter is I've never had a girl not say she's clean. Actually, that's not true. I have slept with a couple girls that had STDs. I found out later. And then, like, I was smart about it and didn't catch them. But the condom is a good friend. It's going to keep you pretty safe most of the time, and mostly it's going to keep you safe from the stuff that you're really worried about. I've looked at, like, the CDC website and looked at the stats and that kind of stuff. If you look at something like AIDS, for example, condom's going to be something like upwards of 95% like protection for that, which is like maybe like 98, 99% if used properly. In and of itself. That's even if you slept with someone who had AIDS. And then on top of that, even without a condom, your odds of catching it is something like under 4%. So you're talking about like 1% of 4% are your chances if you slept with someone who you knew had AIDS, plus the incidence of AIDS in society isn't super high, et cetera, especially if you're with a demographic that's low risk, i.e. Doesn't use intravenous drugs, is fairly like is fairly like well off, doesn't come from like a bad area, it doesn't have like a million sexual partners, doesn't do anal, that kind of stuff, or it hasn't done a lot of anal. So your odds, I think, are pretty good on that. The ones that you'd be more worried about would be something like say like herpes is probably the biggest one that you're likely to get, and that you could get with or without. And that's tough to tell too. People, even if you get a report, that one can go undetected in a report, and it can go asymptomatic for years. So that one's pretty tough, but it's also, I'm told, not like the worst thing in the world in terms of like you can live with it and stuff like that. So I guess that's a risk you take for having sex. But having a condom, again, there at least massively reduces your risk because you don't have like the open skin and you're not touching quite as much of the area that you can't see. So those would be the things there. But then in terms of after sex, I would say just like get her really aroused, say like how good it would feel, that kind of stuff. Make sure she's on the pill so you don't do what we talked about earlier on, which is like come inside her and have to go get the morning after pill. But I would ask then, not before. If you really wanted to ask before sleeping with her the first time, then you totally could do it. I just like be putting it in, get her all like whatever, and be like, hey, are you clean, and that sort of thing. Or you have to go on multiple dates, because like on the same, obviously it's a one-night stand and you want a report before you sleep with her, then you need her to go to the doctor and go get it, and then you need a few days, etc. So then you have to like take a completely different frame, which is you're dating, you're like very much arousing her, that sort of stuff. So that's pretty tough. In that case, she almost needs to be in your social circle, or it needs to be a multiple date scenario. So I mean, I guess you can do it that way. But the actual conversation, just ask it. And then do it when she actually likes you. That's my best advice. That's what I do personally. I think that it's funny because when I first got into the game, a big reason why I didn't sleep with any girls for the first 19 years of my life was I was actually afraid of sex, because I was afraid of STDs and that kind of stuff. And then nowadays, I'm probably more cavalier than I should be in certain ways. Not the advice I've just given you, I think, is good advice, but I don't always follow it myself. I've never caught anything. Most of the guys I know that have slept with tons and tons of girls have never caught or barely ever caught anything, and the stuff they've caught is just the stuff that you can wipe out quickly. So I'm not as scared of that as you might think, and especially if you're smart about your condom use and you're smart about who you choose to sleep with, you'd usually be all right, in my experience. Don't take that as like a absolute disclaimer. It is possible that you have protected sex with someone and it's one time and you end up catching AIDS, but it's also possible that you walk across the street on a sunny day and get struck by lightning. So at some point, the odds are in your favor enough that I think the reward justifies the risk.